Hello and happy Vlogmas Day 2. My name's Tina and I'm bobbing along nicely. Welcome to my channel. It's going to be a brief one today. I've had quite a long day at work. Lots and lots to do this time of year, obviously, when you're involved with the stuff to make jewellery with. So it'll just be a quick one. I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the traditions that I have discovered in my research for Christmas. And I will open day 2 of my swap from the lovely Laura. So I thought I'd start looking around the internet and do a little bit of research about other people's Christmas traditions. I've told you about one of ours with the Christmas pyjamas, but I thought it'd be really interesting to see what other people have as their traditions in the run up to Christmas. Now, one of the first ones I came across is something I'd never heard of before, which tells me I should read more. But it is particularly prevalent in Eastern Europe, so places like Poland, Czechoslovakia, or the Czech Republic, some parts of Germany, and it involves carp. Now, I know that the tradition started in the Middle Ages when Advent was traditionally a time of fasting for the Roman Catholic Church, and meat was therefore not permitted to be eaten. But carp, fish, was not considered meat, so it was freely available and people ate that in the run up to Christmas. And in particular, they would celebrate the end of Advent on Christmas Eve by having a feast, and that would almost always involve carp. Fascinating tradition. You know, we always think about Christmas Day as being the day that we have our feast, but obviously if it's more closely tied to religion, it can quite often, the dates can change, and the last day of Advent is Christmas Eve. So carp was the fish that was widely available. You could pretty much grow it in your village pond, and of course monasteries in those days had really, really large fish ponds where carp could be kept. I've been to quite a few National Trust places recently where they still have the carp ponds for production of that fish. There are some interesting traditions to do with it. The scales of the carp were often kept afterwards and kept in wallets as sort of lucky charms, and the thinking is that because the scales are sort of coin shaped, that they would bring good luck. I've also read about traditions where the fish bones afterwards were put up trees in order to provide fertility and good luck for the coming year's harvest. So really, really interesting. I think the most startling fact, and the one that made me sort of read more into it, was the practice until not that long ago where a family would buy a carp and then they would keep it in a bathtub or a bucket in the run up to Christmas. And the reason for that, basically, you don't want your fish killed several days before, you want to keep it fresh. But also, fish are filter feeders. So if you take it out of a murky pond or a river, if you put it into clean water, a few days in that clean water, and the fish will filter any muck out of its system, and you're left with a presumably sweeter tasting fish. So really interesting. I'd love to hear if any of you have any experience of carp or any of the food traditions. I am looking at sort of reading a little bit more about other food traditions from around the world, but I thought that was an interesting and short one that would kick us off. I'm now going to open my Advent swap for number 2 from Laura. I have kept it at the top of the box so it's easier to find. It's a very different shape to yesterday's Advent calendar. I have burnt the first candle today and it smells delicious. It's mulled wine and it doesn't smell alcoholic, but it does smell really nice and fruity. So I've had that in the studio today. Excuse the ripping noise of the sellotape. Probably should have put my glasses back on for this, shouldn't I? But hey ho. Oh. I'm very happy with this. Bias binding. This comes from the Specky Seamstress. She does fantastic bias binding. There's a different theme every month. But I think Laura did quite a lot of research on this one, because if you look, it has shells of various different sorts, including Ammonite. I'm rather partial to ammonites. I grew up in Dorset, which is very famous for its ammonites. The ammonite was the emblem of the first senior school that I went to before I moved house. And I do actually have an ammonite tattoo on one of my arms. So thank you very much, Laura. I love blue as well. So that will go straight into my bias binding box. And I shall hopefully add it to a project very soon. I have also got to do some planning. I'm going to my social this week. Social I started a few months ago. We've actually changed the venue because there are only a few of us, but we all get on really, really well. And we've decamped to somebody's house for the winter because it's a bit warmer and we can still park outside and we don't have to pay hall fees when we don't know how many people are going to be there. So what we decided we would do, or we'd like to do, is to all make the same garment. We've got varying levels of ability and experience in sewing, but we thought of something that we would all like to make, and we have come up with this one. So this is McCall's 8343. I thought it was a really good choice for all of us actually, because there are 4 different options. I'm quite partial to a shawl collar, and that one's a zip-up one. This one has a different colour placket. So in my trips away, I have managed to source some fabric. This was again from the Birmingham show. This is a fleece, which I thought would be a really nice, quick way of sewing the project up. As you can see, it's one of my colours. I did think I'd like to do the one with the placket, but obviously if I haven't got contrasting fabric, I will probably make one of the other 2 options to start with. Also because I looked for a zip on the trip and I couldn't find the right kind of zip necessary to make this view. So that is my plan. I'm on a deadline because it's now Tuesday and our social is on Friday morning. So for the rest of this evening, once I've finished editing and uploading this, I will be looking at the packet, looking at the pattern, seeing if I need to make any size adjustments with a view to hopefully cutting it out tomorrow evening. And then I can sew it up on Friday morning. So there you go, short and sweet for today. I will be back tomorrow, hopefully with some daytime filming because my week it works differently on a Wednesday. But for now, do pop over and see Laura. I think Laura is going to be publishing her blog for Vlogmas this evening as well. I can't wait to watch it and see what she thinks of her first gift from me. But go and check her out. She's called So Very Laura. Okay, speak to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.